Hello friends, I'm Bilgrami, Professor of Biology and Scientific Research Consultant. Before starting my lecture, I want to thank you all for watching my videos and listening my lectures and liking them a lot. Today, I'm going to talk on another important aspect of scientific research, that is, how to write a scientific paper that journals take seriously. Let me tell you one thing, that effective writing is a skill that needs to be developed by the scientists for effective and convincing communication and expression. I always say writing is not a writing, but rewriting of a writing is the best and the effective writing. And that's what we need actually. So, as far as scientific writing is concerned, it is very technical and predicated on the rigors of scientific inquiry. So it must reflect the same precision as demanded by the research process. Scientific writings should be written in a skillful and precise manner so that any misunderstanding or misinformation among the readers can be prevented and readability can be maintained. We all have difficulties, and I fully agree with that. We all have difficulties, agony, and hardships in writing our scientific research papers. And we all want that our papers must be taken seriously by the journals. But there are certain factors leading up to the acceptance of the paper. So here is my take. Instead of raising doubts and demonizing editors and referees, we must try to find out why the paper was returned and what should we do to increase the chances of our papers getting considered favorably and positively. Redundancies, verbosity, ambiguities, and of course the language are some other issues preventing editors to consider our papers. This lecture does not guarantee that papers will be accepted after listening to this lecture right away, but it presents a way to increase the chances of papers being considered positively by the journal editors. So let us start with the first part of how to write a scientific paper that journals take seriously. And this is the part 1 of this talk. Let us begin now.
Gerard Peel, a scientific editor, said, "Without publication, the science is dead." He has explained the importance of writing in scientific journals so that other scientists should know about few things, about new findings. Suppose, if after investigation the research is not published and the outcome is not shared, the data would have no meaning for investigators and other scientists. Such a scenario fits well with the saying, publish or perish, which leads investigators without receiving any due recognition. Scientific papers have several sections with specific requirements. Title is the first and the foremost, which readers consider reading paper first and further. The second section is that of the abstracts, which sets the ball rolling if readers find it interesting and useful. The third component is introduction. I'll be discussing all these sections in details after this slide. Then comes materials and methods, which describes methodology and techniques. Results is the section where you present the outcome of your study. Discussion is the section where interpretations, thoughts, and comparisons are done. And then comes references, where where the cited literature is listed. And there are four other sections in the papers which do not influence the faith of the paper, but they are as important as the other sections. For example, keywords. Keywords, most journals want you to include them to unify your study. Conflict of interest is more of an ethical value, needs to be addressed as per journal's requirement, and then author ranking and acknowledgements. Here is the title, which is an important section of the paper. It sets the path of decision making. More than 80% readers decide to open the paper based on the title. So you can have a nice and attractive title within 15 words. And please do not use any acronyms or abbreviations or exclamation marks. The title must explain the purpose, the scope, and hypothesis. If the paper is based on some techniques or methodology, it's better to reflect, some idea of what methodology has been used. Abstract should never be more than 200 to 300 words, and it should include very brief explanations about the purpose, methods, results, and main conclusions. You wanted to keep it simple, nice, factual, and precise. And always remember that whenever you write abstract, the abstract should be written in the past tense. Never include any discussion, evaluation of other people's work, interpretations, speculations, or references in the abstract. Introduction is all about what do you know about the work done in your subject area and what you don't know about the work done in your subject area. So say it all that you know and what you don't know about the existing literature, about the recent trends in your research area. The introduction serves as the roadmap for your paper. By clearly stating the study's background, aims and hypothesis and research question, the introduction can guide you as you write the rest of the paper. So investigate and choose your research area by making general statements, topics, by setting hypothesis and reviewing the current research. Mostly papers are rejected for not showing the importance of the topic or lacking clear motivation. Identify the gaps in the existing research before you set the hypothesis. And whenever you set hypothesis, the hypothesis and the question should be very clear. Besides identifying and analyzing the scope of research by outlining key points and analyzing previous studies. So focus on your sentences. Start with a topic sentence while avoiding redundancies and repetitions. Avoid an overly long introduction, and a good target to write production is 500 to 1000 words. If you want your research paper must be taken seriously, you need to write materials and methods in a very clear and precise manner, providing all the experimental conditions in a proper scientific way so that if anybody else wants to redo the experiment, he or she must generate identical results with same interpretation. So this is how materials and methods section should look. The materials and methods must address the research question, study design, data collection, data analysis. Limitations, if any, should be mentioned here, and ethics, if there are any issues involved, must be mentioned here and resolved. The study location or place must be defined and elaborated in the material and method section. For example, location, laboratory, place, latitude, longitudes, temperature, air quality, um, and all those parameters which you have included in your study must be mentioned in materials and methods. These parameters will change depending upon your field of specialization. Describe experimental designs, such as whether the study is experimental or based on survey or based on secondary data. Say about controls, negative control, how many replications, methods of sampling, and other such conditions and specifications needed as per the subject. So if you have introduced a new experimental design, it must be clearly explained with the specifications, otherwise the existing methods must be described in very brief by referring to the source. If plants and animals are involved in the study, then you need to tell the genus, species, strain, cultivar, as well as the common names along with the original authors. In the case, if chemicals are involved, their names, specifications, and quantities must be mentioned. It is always advisable to follow author's guidelines, and you need to explain data collection, methods, frequencies, situations, and techniques. Explain how you have collected your data. Did you collect it yourself? What tools did you use? What were the variables, type of data, etc.? Type the data analysis is another important crucial part of a good paper. Many times papers are rejected because statistical analysis is either inappropriate or inaccurately done. So please always mention statistical programs or statistical packages that you use, and also statistical tests that you have applied. Please remember that not every statistical test can be applied to all types of data. And please never overdo with statistical tests to decorate your results. Remember, too much salt spoils the taste of the food. Writing should be in the past tense and third person. For example, experiments were conducted at 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 days. Don't write it like this. I conducted experiments at 98.4 degree Fahrenheit for 5 days. And always, uh, always consult author's guide when you start writing your paper. Then comes the question of using measuring units. Measuring units should always be according to SI system, which is known as Lee System International D units. So all of them are there, and all you need to do is just use those prescribed units for measurements. Just in case, if it is a non-SI unit, then that must be defined on its first appearance in the paper. It's always a good idea to ask your colleagues to review your paper once you are done, just to get to know whether your colleagues are able to understand what you wrote, and if they understand, then anybody else would also understand what you have written. Results are the backbone of your paper. I therefore always suggest writing them first. Once completed, it is advisable to circulate it amongst your team members to have their agreement. Many times it happens that additional experiments or data or some additional statistical tests may be required, which may change the results, and then almost every section of the paper changes, which you have to rewrite, and I'm sure you would not like to do that. So your results section should include do's and don'ts. You must exercise a good judgment, and your writing of results should have direction, magnitude, and effects. So all these words means that your results should be very, very precise and crispy. Results should not include raw data and written precisely to the point. Avoid repeating the results, and data must be presented in correct international units. If you have any negative results, this is the time to mention them, but please do not discuss them. Write your results by referring to the tables and figures, which must be placed close to the figure number in the text as it is shown here. Give statistical values and comparisons between results obtained without any explanation or interpretations. Never use the statistical values excessively and repeatedly. The results must correspond to the data presented in figures and tables, and always please be aware that contradictions in your paper make your writings redundant.
And finally, I would like to thank everyone for watching and listening these talks, especially today, on how to write a scientific paper that journals take seriously. A good paper writing is a prerequisite, as you and me both know, for good researchers and academicians. Without having strong skills of writing and good writing traits, it may not be easy to write your research findings in a way that journal wants you to submit. So I feel, and I think everyone feels that it is imperative upon us to share the knowledge, information, and skills with our students, colleagues, and collaborators, right? Okay, so once again, I thank you all for watching and appreciating my little efforts in disseminating knowledge to students, colleagues, and research collaborators. Just for your information, every 2 weeks I upload one lecture. Please stay tuned for the second part of this talk, which will be uploaded in about 2 weeks' time. Please take care. Please stay alert, stay safe and healthy. Until then, so long. Bye-bye.